Hello, everybody, and welcome to 3 o'clock with SOC. Thank you for being with us throughout these last few months, and especially now as things are wrapping up with the election and the vaccine is here in the United States. We've got a lot of information coming at you this week, but give me just a second to make sure our Spanish-speaking neighbors can get access to the program. Buenas tardes, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros en otro foro comunitario con SOC, 3 en punto con SOC. Como siempre, ustedes pueden escuchar el programa en español a través de una llamada de conferencia. Y el número aparece aquí en la pantalla y hay que marcar 646-749-3122. Y luego hay que introducir la contraseña que es 779-328-221. So thank you, everybody. If you have any issues with interpretation, please just throw a comment on our comment section so we can make sure to get that resolved. But again, welcome everybody. We are so glad to have you on with us today. Please also remember that if you aren't able to be with us at 3 o'clock on the dot, you can absolutely view these videos after the fact through our Facebook page or our YouTube page. These videos, after they are live, will stay on our page always, so you can access them whenever is convenient for you. I'm Gabe Charles. I am the Civic Engagement Manager, and I've got Alan and Marlene helping me out behind the scenes. So thank you to you two for doing the comments and the production. I also just want to remind everybody that, as you can see on the screen, there are a number of ways that you can get in touch with SOC. We are still not doing any work in person, but you can absolutely give us a call at 414-672-8090. You can email us at soc@socmilwaukee.org. Or you can visit our website that has lots of information that we would likely give you over the phone or email as well at www.socmilwaukee.org. We also want to encourage you all to fill out the SOC survey. This is a survey that allows you all to give us feedback on this forum. We do this forum for all of you to get you the information and resources that you might need during this time. So if there's any suggestions that you might have, ideas, topics, whatever it may be, please feel free to fill out that survey. The link for it is in the comment section for all of you. And then, like I already mentioned, we are still working virtually. We are still not doing any work in person, so that's why you'd see me without a mask on. I'm just at my house right now, so know that if we were working in an office or having to do work in person together, we would absolutely be wearing a mask to adhere to the mask mandate to keep ourselves and everyone else safe. I would love to know who is here today. Please give us a like, give us a heart, give us a hello. Let us know what you did this weekend. Let us know how you feel about what's going on. Let us know anything in the comments. We would love to hear from you. So give us a little shout out in the comment section. And as always, I would like to just give a disclaimer that the views and opinions shared today do not necessarily reflect those of SOC. As always, we have to give that disclaimer because we do want to make sure that our guests always have the ability to share their opinions and their voice as they see fit. So yeah, today's Monday, which means it's Civic Day. The schedule of days in the new year might change, so stay posted for what might change with the forum. But for today, we are celebrating Civic Day, and we've got Eileen Newcomer with us from the League of Women Voters. But just a quick overview of who else is coming up this week. Tomorrow, we have Jeremy Triblett, Mental Health and Wellness Coordinator at Community Advocates, joining us. Then Wednesday, we'll have Berenice Beltran Maldonado from Voces de la Frontera to give us an update about DACA. Then Thursday, we'll have Claire Evers on, the Deputy Commissioner of Environmental Health from the Milwaukee Health Department. And then Friday, we'll have Pedro Hernandez on. He is an attorney at Legal Aid Society, and he'll give us some information about how you can be represented if you've been evicted during COVID. And we know a lot of people are struggling with housing at this time, so definitely a lot of good information will come on Friday as well, and through other things throughout the week as well. But let me just take a quick second to see if we have any hellos, so I can be so happy to know I'm not here by myself. We've got Kelly Johnson. Hello. Diana Becerra. Gracias por estar aquí. Maria de Jesus, hello, hello. Thank you all for giving us a hello. I like to know that I've got some company while I do these, so thank you. And if there are any questions that you have throughout this forum, as always, please comment them in the comment section. But with that, I would love to welcome on Eileen so we can get to talking about what's going on with League of Women Voters and other things post-election. Hi, Eileen.
Hi, really happy to join you today.
Yeah, we're super glad to have you on. And I'm sure you, like me, are kind of breathing a sigh of relief today. The electors voted. The 10 elector votes from Wisconsin were decided upon today, which is a huge step in the transition process and just post-election work. So I know I'm breathing a sigh of relief. There are still things that can happen, of course, leading up to January 20th when Biden will be inaugurated, but it's nice to know that that step in the process has happened.
Yeah, I agree. I tuned in on Wisconsin Eye earlier today, and it's really nice to be able to have that service so that, people can tune in from home and watch it. But it was a pretty boring meeting, and I was telling some of my friends that, I think it's good that it seemed pretty boring and straightforward. So.
Right, I was kind of like, all right, is something wild going to happen? Who knows what can happen at this point? Let's see. But yes, happily reporting that it was a boring meeting. But yeah, I would love for you to just give a quick reminder to folks, what is League of Women Voters Wisconsin, and why don't you talk about your role as voter education manager as well?
Sure, I'd be happy to share. So the League of Women Voters of Wisconsin is a statewide grassroots organization focused on empowering voters and defending democracy. We do that by providing education to voters and then also advocating on different issues based on our positions that our membership collectively decides what our position is going to be on a particular issue, and then we advocate for that at all levels of government. So I happen to work for the State League, but we also have a National League of Women Voters that focuses on national issues. And then here in Wisconsin, we have 20 local leagues across the state that really hone in and focus on local issues in their areas. There is one in Milwaukee County, Waukesha County is also very active in partnership with the Milwaukee County League. And then there are 19 others across the state too. And then as far as my role with the State League, as you said, I'm the voter education manager. So I oversee our voter education and voter services activities throughout the state. Some primary things that I do is put together our voter guide on vote411.org. I was very fortunate to join SOC earlier this year to kind of give an overview about what Vote 411 is, and it's a place where we post our nonpartisan candidate information, and is also a one-stop shop for voting information really across the country. There's information for every state, and just kind of the basics. How do you register? Do you need to bring an ID? How do you find your polling place, and that sort of thing. And then I also manage our election observation program, and so we recruit volunteers to go and observe polling places on election day, and then they report that information back to me. I compile a report to share with election officials. This year we expanded our program, though, to include observing early voting, and then also to observe during the post-election process. So the post-election voting equipment audits, and then the recount as well.
Yeah, I would love to hear a little more about that process. So we were so happy to have you on earlier this year to talk about, all the resources that you have on the website and, the voter guide and getting to know candidates and all of that. And, you all did such great work leading up to the election, but what was it like observing the recount, and what did that process look like for all of you?
Yeah, that was really interesting. It was my first time organizing folks to observe the recount, and we didn't know until the day of the scope of the recount, whether it was going to be statewide or if it was just going to be specific locations in Wisconsin. So it turned out that the Trump campaign decided they wanted to have recounts in Dane County, Milwaukee County, so that changed the scope of the election. So we were prepared to observe recounts statewide, but then, was kind of fortunate that we only had to focus on the 2 areas, although the decision for those 2 areas, is unfair in the way that they were going to potentially throw out ballots. And so I guess less work, but also, is an equity issue that only 2 areas were selected for recount. We kind of came at it with a different approach than we typically would for our election day observers, where I kind of just assigned people to where they're going to go, and we had county leads this time around who took on a bigger leadership role to ensure that there were folks there for the multiple day process to observe the recounts.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying about it being an equity issue because, why was it just Milwaukee and Dane County that they were worried about? Obviously we know why, and then also with the lawsuits that were filed, they had an issue with indefinitely confined voters, but only in Milwaukee and Dane County. That's very suspicious and unfortunate that that's the way the Trump campaign was conducting itself.
Yeah, I agree. Another one of the bigger issues that they were looking into was the procedure for voters who went and voted early. So here in Wisconsin, what we commonly refer to as early voting is actually in-person absentee voting. So there was a question about how voters apply for in-person absentee voting, and there was the threat of just throwing out early votes in Dane County, Milwaukee County, and not in other counties where that followed that exact same procedure.
Right. Yeah, and then after the election, you all also distributed a voter experience survey that would allow people to talk about what they experienced during the election. What kinds of questions did you ask on that survey?
Yeah, we do our best to ask kind of a comprehensive list of questions, but also, trying to keep it short and sweet so that people actually respond. The first time that we put out the survey was actually earlier this year in April, but we did model it off of our partners survey that the Disability Vote Coalition had put together, trying to learn more about the experiences that voters with disabilities in Wisconsin have. So I definitely want to give them credit for all the work that they put into in building their initial survey. But we ask a slew of questions. One is just trying to get a better understanding of how people vote. And so whether it's voting in person on election day or taking advantage of early voting, voting by mail, and whether or not they felt comfortable mailing their ballot back to the clerk, or if they decided to drop off their ballot at a drop box location, or if people didn't vote, trying to get a better understanding of why they didn't vote so that we might be able to have that information to address barriers that folks have. And then we also ask questions about if folks had any issues voting absentee. So things like, did you request a ballot that never arrived? Did you have an issue navigating the website to request one? Or if people could also request one in writing, and how was that process for folks? Or if there's something else that they would like us to know about the process. We also ask a slew of questions about voting in person, whether or not people experienced long lines, whether or not they saw people being turned away because they didn't have proof of residence document when trying to register, or their photo ID, if they experienced anything that felt intimidating at their polling site, if there was a police presence, or if there were positive things at their polling site that they wanted us to know about. For example, were poll workers super helpful? Were there any innovative things at their polling place that they saw that they wanted to make sure that we knew about? Because we do use the results from the survey to inform that post-election report that I mentioned earlier. So I do incorporate that information for when we make recommendations to improve elections going forward. And so, we do our best to have eyes and ears at every polling place, but we can't be everywhere. And some people have different experiences and see things that that we don't. And so we want to make sure that we're learning from voters and their experiences too. And if we can be the conduit of sharing one, really good practice from one polling place to everywhere in Wisconsin, we definitely want to do that while also trying to address issues that we see.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds like a really important survey to have out to gather that information from people. And it's distributed statewide, right? Each state has their own, or is it based on the different branches of League of Women Voters in the state?
So we distribute ours statewide. It's a survey that I guess we created, kind of branching off of our partnership with the Disability Vote Coalition, but it's not something that like National League of Women Voters has and shares with every state. So it's kind of a unique thing in Wisconsin that we do have this survey. And our local leagues are really great partners too in spreading the word and sharing it and getting the survey out into their communities so that every voters in Wisconsin are all taking the same survey. And then our partners are also really invaluable at helping spread the word about the survey too, so that we can get a lot of folks to respond.
Yeah, really cool. So how many people responded to the survey up until now? It's I imagine it's not open anymore, or is it still open?
It's still open. I'm in the process of writing the post-election report right now. So if there are new additions, that information might not necessarily make it into the report, but it still is very helpful information for us to have if folks want to share their experience with us. So it'll be open for a little bit longer, maybe a couple weeks, and then I'll close it. And then, we're already kind of looking down the barrel at the spring election cycle. So elections are kind of never over here in
Right.
Wisconsin. But yeah, we had about 500 people respond to the survey so far. We're pretty happy with the response rate. We had just under 800 people respond after the April election. And one of the things that I've been noticing as I've been looking through the data is I feel like in April, people came to the survey because they knew that the league was going to listen to what they had to say. They wanted somebody to know about their experience and would act on it. And I think people were, pretty angry. It was, a terrible election. Really unprecedented, the long lines, number of people who were disenfranchised for different reasons. And then here in the November election, one of the things that I'm noticing is that a lot of the barriers that we saw in April were reduced. So we had way fewer people reporting issues trying to vote absentee. Super significantly fewer people reporting that they weren't able to vote. So it went from over 100 people who responded to the survey in April saying that they couldn't vote to only 2 people in the November survey saying that they weren't able to vote. And then just there were kind of an outpouring of love for poll workers and clerks and all the people who made the election happen and did what they could to make sure that people could vote safely and knew what their options were and got people the information that they needed in order to make their voices heard.
That's really good to hear that only 2 people in this survey said they were unable to vote, and definitely agree with the love to the poll workers and all of that. If you see little ears popping up, it's because I have this little puppy here. Well, she's not a puppy, she's actually pretty old, but I'm dog sitting for my sister, and she's a very needy dog, so she's here in my lap. So sorry if that's distracting at all. She would be barking and whining if I put her on the floor, so sorry about that. But thank you for sharing that about the survey. I also was curious if there were any unexpected results that you got, or anything that was just kind of surprising or shocking, or was really exciting to read about, anything like that from the results.
Yeah, I think that the one thing that I was pleasantly surprised about, I guess, or maybe surprised isn't the right word, but I think going back to just the reduction in issues that were reported to us, the people showing kind of the love for election officials who made elections run pretty smoothly for still being in a pandemic. And then we also asked people about their use of drop boxes, and the amount of people who use drop boxes, dramatically increased as well this year or in this election. But you know what? That's just a matter of there are more communities that had drop boxes, way more education about drop boxes, and just people. If you know about it, then you can actually make use of it. Versus if you don't know about it, then you can't use the drop box.
Absolutely. And then, so you did mention that, elections never end, so we're already looking towards the next round of elections. But what other kind of work will the League be doing to just continue defending and helping sustain democracy now that this major presidential election is over?
Yeah, so I can speak from kind of what things that I'll be doing in my role as election voter education manager. I don't know if I said election, but voter education manager. And then there are other things, of course, that the League is doing that's kind of beyond the scope of my work for the League. But I'm still continuing to analyze the data that we've gotten from this last election to create a report to try and advocate to improve future elections as well. And one of the things I see coming from this report is taking a more granular look at it too, to kind of make some suggestions for different municipalities in Wisconsin on specific things that we saw in their communities that could be addressed, and trying to work with local folks on making those improvements as well. And then we're also working with partners to try and address some more structural voting access issues. So one of the programs we're working on, I guess more closely or spending more time and attention on, is access to voting for folks who are in jail and are eligible to vote. So some people don't necessarily know that even though you are in jail, that doesn't mean that you're not necessarily ineligible to vote if you are awaiting conviction or sentencing, or if you're in jail for a misdemeanor as opposed to a felony, you're still eligible to vote. But just because you are eligible to vote does not mean that it is accessible to you, because you are limited into where you can go, whether or not you can access your photo ID in order to request an absentee ballot and things like that. So we're working with partners to try and address this on a county by county level to try and make it more accessible. We're also going to be taking a look at the provisional voting process. So in Wisconsin, we have a really low number of provisional ballots that are cast on election day, and I think that it is lower than it should be, because I think that more people, if they knew they had the option to vote provisionally, they would do so. So the main reason why folks would get a provisional ballot in Wisconsin is if they don't have an ID when they go to vote. And by voting provisionally, those voters get extra time to get an ID. So they have until the Friday after the election to cure their provisional ballot and make it count. So there's some training elements there about why they're not being offered to voters. Voters also don't necessarily know that they can have that option. And so if there's more education around voters, even just knowing that's an option for them, they can self-advocate as well. And then
I'm sorry, do you have to be registered to get a provisional ballot?
So you can get a provisional ballot if, when you are registering to vote, you choose not to include your driver's license number if you have one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm sorry, I interrupted if you were.
Oh, no, that's okay. I think that is also something that's unclear to a lot of folks, is like, in what cases can you get a provisional ballot? And it really is just the two cases. So it's not even if you don't have a proof of residence document, it's if you can't provide your driver's license number or state ID number and you have one.
Okay. Very, very good information, and exciting to hear all that you will be up to in these next few months, especially with those who were incarcerated and are now out and are learning about their rights and accessibility for voting. I know that's a big issue, and we, in our phone banking and texting campaigns, we bumped into that where people were like, "Oh, I can't vote," but really, if you meet certain requirements, you absolutely can vote, even if you um, were incarcerated at one point. So exciting to hear about all of that from the league. Anything else you want to share with us before our time comes to an end here, Eileen?
I'm always happy to talk more about voting and
Yeah.
things that we're working on. I guess I could touch on some of the other items that the league is working on that maybe I'm not even necessarily as close to, but we have a big redistricting campaign for fair
Yes.
maps. The legislature is going to be drawing those maps next year based on information that was gathered in the census, and so the league is advocating very hard for fair maps so that people can choose their representatives rather than representatives trying to choose the voters who they think will vote for them. So
exactly. Very cool. Well, we are gonna definitely be reporting out on that redistricting process as well, and we'll be watching it closely because it's very important that happens, and it happens in an equitable manner. So thank you for talking about that as well, and thank you so much for being on with us today, Eileen. You've been on with us before, and we're so glad to have your continued cooperation.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm happy to come back anytime.
Cool. Well, you have a great rest of the day, and thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh. I'm so used to producing backstage that sometimes I do it and then the producer does it at the same time. So Marlene, killing it. Thank you. And I would just like to bring on Benjamin now, who's going to talk to us about some housing resources from the city of Milwaukee. So yes, hello.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me. My name is Benjamin Sanchez. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with you and with also the community members that participate within these events.
Yeah.
I can definitely go into the programs right away and talk about what they are.
Before even talking about the programs, why don't you talk about yourself? Let us know, who you're coming to us from and your position maybe a little bit as well, so we can get an idea of who you are.
Like you, I have my little pet dog right here next to me sitting.
Oh, I love that.
His name is Loki. My name is Benjamin Sanchez. I work with the Neighborhood Improvement Development Corporation at the City of Milwaukee with the Department of City Development. I have worked in housing for a little bit over 13 years now. And my primary focus is working with individuals that are trying to fix their homes or in the process of purchasing and rehabbing, or with potential investors that are fixing homes for individuals that are low to moderate households that are looking for affordable housing. So that's typically what I do on a daily basis. That's me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so it's my understanding there's 3 different programs you're going to talk to us about today, and we'd love to just dive into those and let people know what is available for them.
Sure. There are 3 different programs available, and I'm sure you have talked about this program, but I'd like to highlight this. This is not a program offered by our department within the city of Milwaukee, but there is a mortgage resource assistance program through Housing Resources Incorporated. If you know of anyone that is potentially losing income due to COVID-19 and they are not able to afford their mortgage payments or have missed mortgage payments, definitely get in contact with Housing Resources Incorporated. Their deadline for application submission is this Friday, the 18th of December. So that's why I would like to mention that, because it is a very good program that is very, very important. Apart from that, I am going to focus on 3 different programs available through our department. The first one is going to be the Strong Homes Loan Program. It is mainly designed for emergencies and essential repairs for individuals that live in their home and are experiencing some major issues that they need to fix. The second program I will talk about is a little bit more targeted. It's called the Targeted Investment Neighborhood, and I'll talk about the neighborhoods that are on the south side a little bit more in detail. And then the third program that I would like to talk about, which is a very, very popular program within our department, and it's very useful for creating beautification spaces within the neighborhood, is called the Community Improvement Project. And that one is a match grant program for residents that live in the neighborhood that are trying to fix different areas within their particular space in their neighborhood, their corner of the pocket there. The first program, the Strong Homes Loan Program, is an emergency loan that assists with up to $20,000 that can be used for fixing like major code compliance orders that an individual may have. If you have a roof that's leaking, it's leaking into your home and you're causing major problems of moisture or damage to the ceilings, things like that, we do have a program as well. And we do have an emergency sewer lateral program, which is part of that Strong Homes Loan Program as well. We work with lead lateral issues, and we work with also major issues related to health and safety. So if there are any concerns, and this may not be something that's applicable to you as a resident, but if you have any family members, any relatives, any friends that know that have major emergencies, and they potentially have been rejected from normal bank loans, from traditional financing, our loan is a loan of last resource. That means that I tried to apply for a loan at a bank. The bank said, no, I don't qualify. We're not as strict. We look at income, the ability to pay a loan. We look at credit, but we're a little bit less strict as a bank loan. And what we do with this loan process is if you are also elderly or disabled and with fixed income or very low income, we do have options available to you as well, that you don't have to make a monthly payment and there would not be any interest on the loan. So these are loans that are very, very, very useful for individuals that may be in a situation that cannot seek a loan through a normal bank. The loan is up to $20,000. We can provide up to 25% of the loan becomes forgivable as long as the homeowner lives in the house for 10 years after the work has been completed. And then 75% would be in the form of a 0% interest rate loan or a 3% interest rate loan. It depends on where your income falls and in what category you fall within the program. That's called the Strong Homes Loan Program. We do have 5 rehab specialists on staff. That means that individuals help you through the process of developing a scope of work, help you through the process of making information publicly available for contractors to provide you bids. So that takes off a little bit of the extra pressure trying to figure out contractors and who to work with. The other added peace of mind is we don't pay any contractors until the work has been completed. So there is not that concern of paying something and then all of a sudden the contractor taking off and you're stuck without having the work being done and losing out on money. We won't pay for anything until the work is done to make sure that it's satisfactory and that it meets certain standards to make sure that the work is of quality. I hope that that information helps. If you are interested in applying to the Strong Homes Loan Program, you can always reach us at our general phone number, which is 414-286-5610. Since we are currently in the COVID-19 pandemic, we are working remotely, but we do answer calls on a regular basis and we do respond within a timely fashion. So that's the first program. The second program is a
question about that first program. Do you accept loan applications on a rolling basis? Is there some sort of deadline or time of the year that you accept applications?
There's no deadline. It is an application process that's open yearly. It is City of Milwaukee wide. It's not limited to any specific neighborhoods. So anyone that lives within the City of Milwaukee limits. And we are on a first come, first serve basis. That means as long as funding is available, we're going to try to help as much as possible. We do have 3 different loan officers that also kind of help you a little bit on the front end as your application is assigned. So if you're not really sure if you qualify or not, don't hesitate in submitting an application. We will talk to you, and if there are obstacles, we'll explain these are the obstacles we need to work through to make sure that we can get you through an approved status.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And then, yeah, go ahead and go into the second program.
Sure. The second program is a targeted investment neighborhood. And that program, I'm going to talk about some boundaries. And as we go through this process, I'm sure we'll put some links in the chat session so that you can have some information as to where to visit later on. The first program is the West Burnham Park or Silver City, and the boundaries are from 35th to 41st Street, from Scott Street to Lapham Street. The second is Clark Square, and that's from Cesar Chavez Drive to 24th Street, from Scott Street to Greenfield Street or Avenue. And then we have Walker's Square, which is from South 9th Street to Cesar Chavez, and from West Pierce to Greenfield Avenue. And again, those are 3 neighborhoods within the South Side, just 3 right now. We have a total of 8 different neighborhoods within the program called a targeted investment neighborhood. The other 5 neighborhoods are within the North Side. So if you live on the North Side and you're looking for information on these programs as well, we do have information and links available, and the websites will be posted in the chat session so you can follow those and figure out if your property falls within the neighborhood. That targeted investment neighborhood helps with up to $30,000 in the form of a 50% forgivable loan. So as long as you live in the home for 5 years, 50% of the loan can become fully forgivable. It is income driven. We are looking at individuals that fall within the 80% area median income. And we do have a portion of that loan that can be in the form of a 0% payback loan. That means that we're not charging any interest for that loan that's available. And again, we do offer the option that if you're elderly or disabled and on a fixed income or very low income, we may be able to offer what we call a deferred payment loan where there's not a monthly payment. That federal loan program is designed for fixing up the home based on lead abatement, replacement of windows, replacement of furnaces, insulation, weatherization. We're looking at health and safety as well. So it's a program that's really designed to help at the full project at the house completely. We have some major benefits with that program in the sense that it is federally funded. It is supported with the Department of Neighborhood Services. We do look at everything in terms of code potential violations. We look at anything that may be of health or concern to any children under the age of 6. If you are renting the property, we also look to make sure that it also covers for any tenants that may have children under the age of 6 to prevent any type of lead poisoning based on paint. It's a very popular program. It does change every 3 years, so you definitely need to keep an eye on the website to make sure that your property and the neighborhood is actually the neighborhood within your designated boundaries. Our website is regularly updated, and typically the program ends on the 31st of December. So if you know that your property is within a boundary and you want to apply before the end of the year, it's a good time to do that. As long as your application is in, we can kind of look at it to make sure that if we can qualify you. We do have credit requirements as well. We look at payment history. We do look at the ability to pay a loan back. But again, it's a program to help you fix your home to make sure it's safe and healthy. Any questions on that program?
Yeah, no, you said that the program ends on the 31st. So for those that are in, do you want to just run through those neighborhoods?
Sure, the neighborhoods, again, check into the neighborhoods because they may still extend for next year. I'm not really sure. So you may want to check with your partner within the website. There's a phone number for the partner. So it's West Burnham Park, Silver City from 35th to 41st Street, from Scott Street to Lapham Street. We have Clark Square that goes from Cesar Chavez Drive to 24th Street, from Scott to Greenfield Avenue. And you have Walker Square that goes from South 9th to Cesar Chavez or 16th Street, and from West Pierce to Greenfield Avenue. So those are the 3 neighborhoods within the South Side. We have a total of 8 citywide programs.
Awesome. Yeah, and then go ahead and continue on to the 3rd program then.
Third program is a program that we've worked with in the past with the Southside Organizing Center. We've worked with also other partner agencies. They're community improvement projects. It's a match grant program with up to $4,000 in match grant funding. It is typically a resident-driven type of program. And let's say, for example, some of the areas that you may have been familiar with are like the painted murals that you see within the neighborhood, or community gardens, or sometimes there's these painted rain barrels. Those are some examples of some of the projects that we do fund. We do fund many other programs and projects that are available within the neighborhood that may not be as visual or visible from the street. There are sometimes like community libraries, different projects that are very unique. You actually come up with the ideas as a resident, and you kind of work with your neighbors or with the partner agencies within your neighborhood to put a plan in place and develop that application. Then you submit that application, we'll look at it, and we can help with up to $4,000 in money to help that project or idea become a reality within your neighborhood. That one's actually a lot of fun because of the fact that you get to see the development, you get to see all the families and children and different members of the community involved within developing and creating that project and making it successful.
Yeah, and such a unique array of projects as well. Well, that is all really great information for folks that are watching. I know we will definitely share that information and a regular post on our Facebook page as well. Do you have Spanish language resources available either on your website or on a hotline or anything like that?
Whenever you call us at the 414-286-5610, and I'll say that in Spanish just in case as well. Si quieren más información en relación a nuestros programas, nos puedes llamar al 414-286-5610. 286-5610. Tenemos representantes que hablan español y que le pueden ayudar a través del proceso. También puedes visitar las páginas de redes que vamos a proveer. Tienen información en español también. So information is readily available in English, and then there are links also within the website where you can access that information in Spanish as well.
Awesome. That's great to know. And is there any cost associated with these programs? Obviously, with a loan, you will pay it back. And the interest rates may vary, but any other costs that might be associated?
No, the only other cost that I can say that really is applicable is if you get to the closing table, there may be a $131 closing fee to close on the loan. Apart from that, we do not charge any fees for our rehab specialists. We don't charge any fees for developing scopes of work or anything like that, which normally if you're on the private side of things, those services do tend to cost money. We do not charge any money for those services.
Awesome. And I see a question here in the comments. Are applications for the community improvement project applicable in 2021? So are those applications open for 2021 yet? Or any information specific to 2021 that you might have?
I would say work with a community program partner. In this case, it would be individuals such as yourself within the Southside Organizing Center, and submit the application whenever you feel you're readily available. The funds are regularly available. I haven't heard of anything in terms of the funds running out. If I would not be talking about this. We definitely have the money available. We definitely want to spend the money within the city of Milwaukee, within our communities, and to make sure that individuals are participating and engaging with residents. I know it's a little bit more unique and you may have to approach it a little bit differently because of the pandemic, but there are ways of making it happen, such as these video conference calls and meeting spaces where you can actually kind of gather together virtually.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any last minute things you want to share with our viewers before we are out of time?
No, we greatly appreciate the opportunity for having us speak and talk about these resources. If anybody has any questions, do not hesitate in contacting us. We are more than open to answering any questions that you may have. If you are a potential investor that's looking to start developing your own business in real estate and start looking at having your own rental properties, we do also work with responsible investors in the community. I didn't talk about those programs in detail, but we do work with that as well. So definitely share information as you kind of learn about the information, and just keep Milwaukee moving forward, and hopefully wishing for a better 2021. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful holiday celebration with their family, relatives, or close ones. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we would love to have you back on to talk more about the other programs that you might have available for those investors if people are able.
Sure, definitely. Thank you. Have a great day. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, we will keep going right ahead. We're thankful to both Eileen and Benjamin for being on and sharing that information with us. And again, just a reminder that all of the links are going to be in the comment section for all of you. So if you want to investigate further, those are available for you in the comment section. And I would just love to welcome on Marlene now, who's going to give us a COVID update. Hello.
Hi.
Looking very holiday comfy here. I love it.
Yes, I'm wearing my holiday shirt, and I've got the Christmas tree behind me. Just wanted to show that. Just
I love it.
holiday
It's very beautifully decorated. Props to you and the fam.
Thanks. It's a project me and my mom take on like every year.
Yeah. Nice. All right, well, take it away with these numbers.
Thank you. Okay, so for today, so as many of you might know, we are currently, so the UW Health received its first COVID-19 vaccine shipment today. What does that mean for Wisconsin? It means that we are currently starting to bring in COVID-19 vaccines. The state hopes to receive nearly 50,000 doses in its first shipment by the end of today. So far, they have 10,000 shipments, according to the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. I watched a live forum that they just had online on their webpage, and I also shared it on our Facebook page as well, with lots of questions that were being answered. So essentially, altogether, Wisconsin may receive a batch of 101,100 doses. What that means is they will be distributing them to the following people first. So they will be distributing them in phases. The phases are, so phase 1A is to healthcare workers. Their aim is to reach 400,000 healthcare workers before they move on to phase 1B. Phase 1B will be essential workers, so that may include other healthcare workers and also people that are on the front lines. Phase 1C is people over 65 years old and up, and those that are at risk for COVID-19. They also did state that they're not quite sure what the effects are on those that have immunocompromised diseases and those that are children. So those that will be receiving the vaccine are 16 years old and up. And then, so once these three phases are completed, phase 1A, 1B, and 1C are all completed, then it would cause the leaders of the vaccine distribution program to think of, okay, so what's the next phase? What's the next step for us to take to move on to distribution to our other individuals and populations? So another question that was asked was how will the state be posting and updating data on who has gotten the vaccine? So the vaccine, essentially, we've had this program called the State Immunization Registry for as long as we can remember. I believe it began in the 80s, and individuals will be keeping track of the vaccines and who got the vaccine and how many people received the vaccine through that registry. Those that have gotten their vaccines for the flu, measles, and mumps, all of that, the MMR vaccines, your records are also in that registry as well. And when you go to the doctor, they always check how far along you are with your vaccinations. So that will be updated on that registry. Some other things I wanted to go over. So yes, the age range is 16 years and older. They are not very sure on the data right now for children younger than 16, but they expect to have that data very soon in the next coming months. Okay, so different states are getting different doses by population. So Wisconsin is getting around 100,000 vaccines for right now, just the beginning week. But essentially, the governor has asked for an increase in COVID cases, for an increase in COVID vaccines due to the number of surging cases that Wisconsin does have, since we are currently ranked as the number 4. So there are going to be 8 hubs within Wisconsin that will be distributing these vaccines throughout the state. Not very sure what Milwaukee's hub will be, but I'm pretty sure it's the Milwaukee Public Health Department. I will definitely have all of that information for you guys on Thursday regarding Milwaukee's distribution sites in the next on Thursday when we have Claire Evers on. And let's see. Okay, so when it comes to race and geography, so those that are minority populations that really need, they're like the Latino OAX community and the Black African American community in Milwaukee have been struck by COVID-19 the hardest. And so they did speak on that during the Wisconsin Health Department forum. They will be taking these cases into consideration when distributing in the next few phases of the vaccine. This means that they will most likely be distributing this vaccine to the most hit zip codes within Milwaukee first, and then they will be moving on to the next. So the Pfizer vaccine is the one vaccine that we will be currently distributing. Well, I said we as if SOC is doing it. SOC is not distributing vaccines. I mean, like the public health department. So the Pfizer vaccine is going to be distributed first. The Moderna vaccine still needs pre-approval from the FDA. So until the Moderna is approved, then we will have an extra amount of vaccines that will be distributed. So for pregnant women, they're not sure for pregnant women if a pregnant woman should be getting vaccinated. You do have to talk to your doctor because it has been shown in research that pregnant women are more susceptible to getting health issues due to just being exposed to different diseases and viruses. So it's best to discuss this with your healthcare worker before you do get a vaccine. If you are an essential worker or you are a healthcare worker and you are pregnant, remember, just talk to your doctor about that and see what they say in regards to you getting that vaccine. There's no data on those that are currently immunocompromised. So, talk to your doctor as well. If you are immunocompromised and you do want to get the COVID vaccine, there's no data proving currently that it has any bad side effects right now, but, it's definitely important to check with your doctor before you move forwards. So the state has no intention to mandate the vaccine. Employers, it's up to your employer as well if they want to mandate the vaccine in order for people to return back to work. Even if you do get the vaccine, you still need to wear a mask because there are different strains of the COVID-19 vaccine. So there's no charge for providing this vaccine, but the health insurance will cover the administration rate. So that's usually covered through your physician's office. And the vaccine clinics will be, the Milwaukee vaccine clinics will not be charging individuals for this distribution. Let me see if I missed anything here from my notes. No. So essentially, once we have the Moderna vaccine is easier to distribute because it doesn't need a specific freezing point when it's stored. So the Pfizer vaccine does need a specific freezing point, and that's why it's only being distributed to 8 facilities that can hold it right now. But I believe it's because the Pfizer vaccine needs to be in a temperature of -33 degrees Celsius. The Moderna vaccine does not. And so once we get more of those vaccines coming into the state, we will be distributing those towards the rest of the Milwaukee population once the phases are complete and we have our essential mandatory populations vaccinated. Quickly, I want to go over some myths. So we're going to we're gonna bust some myths right now with Marlene, right? So, so the first myth that we've been hearing is that COVID vaccines will alter my DNA. The first vaccines use messenger RNA to trigger an immune response. They will not do anything to the DNA of your cells, right? So they are dead cells that are being distributed, that are being put into the vaccine. They're dead cells, and essentially the dead cells allow your body to just recognize that this is COVID-19, so your immune system can build immunity against it. So in any way possible, it will not affect your DNA or your cells. You won't have any type of altering mutations or anything like that. Another myth that I want to break down is that COVID vaccines contain microchips developed to control people. There is no vaccine microchip. The vaccine cannot track people or gather personal information. Third myth I'd like to break down is that I won't need to wear a mask after I get vaccinated for COVID. It's a fact that even after you are being vaccinated, it is unknown whether you can still transmit the virus. So we could suggest that you continue to wear your mask as recommended by the CDC. And there it is. And the last myth that I'd like to break down is that the COVID-19 vaccines have severe side effects. COVID vaccines have short-term, mild or moderate vaccine reactions that resolve without complication. The vaccine has been distributed and tested in the UK recently in the past month, and a large majority of individuals have gotten the vaccine, and they have been shown mild or moderate reactions. So what that means is they are getting like how you would get any other type of vaccine, such as the flu vaccine or the measles vaccine in your arm. You might get some swelling in your arm, or your arm might start to hurt. You might also develop a slight fever, which is just means that your immune system is very strong and it's actually building immunity against that virus. So it means the vaccine is working if that does happen. Lastly, the COVID-19 vaccine is not safe because it was rapidly developed and tested. This is a myth. This is a myth because lots of money and donations was put into finding the COVID-19 vaccine, and the process moved faster than usual because this is an emergency response situation, and the FDA and all of the other organizations really put in their all on this development of this vaccine. So if it was not an emergency situation, they would not have rapidly moved forwards with research. So it's not that they moved fast, it's that they got so much funding towards it that research was developed at a faster rate. So, if you don't get that much funding, you're not likely to move forwards with different phases of your research. So that being said, the vaccine is safe for those that are not immunocompromised. If you are under 16 years old, you will not be able to get it. If you are immunocompromised, talk to your doctor. And if you are pregnant, be sure to talk to your doctor before receiving the vaccine. Again, we will not be receiving the vaccines anytime soon for those that are not healthcare workers, essential workers, and 16 and up, and who have immunocompromised, or those who are at risk. It will be in the next coming months that they will have enough vaccines to distribute to everyone within the entire city. So that is my COVID-19 update for you guys for today. I hope you learned a lot, and I sure did when I was researching everything. Yeah, so thank you.
Marlene, thank you so much. You always bring such amazing information, and I know I just got everything I needed from that, so thank you. I also heard too that the like the trials and the testing went so quickly from funding, and then also so many people wanted to sign up to be tested or like be a person that are part of the trials, which is also difficult to get in other sorts of vaccines or trials for drugs and vaccines and things.
Yeah, the first woman that did it, she actually was a 90-year-old woman in the UK. She got vaccinated, and she seems pretty fine right now. So, but those that do sign up for these trials, they will be moderating your health for the next 2 years. So it is a commitment. But I do believe people get a sum of money for participating. So.
As they should, as they absolutely should.
Yes.
So thank you so much for this info, Marlene.
For sure.
All right, well, we are at 4 p.m., so I won't keep you much longer. I just want to let you all know again who will be joining us this coming week. So tomorrow we are going to have, let me go back up here. We're going to have Jeremy Triblet, the Mental Health and Wellness Coordinator at Community Advocates. Wednesday, we'll have Berenice Beltran Maldonado from Voces de la Frontera to talk about a DACA update. Then Thursday, we'll have Claire Evers, the Deputy Commissioner of Environmental Health from the Milwaukee Health Department. And then Friday, we'll have Pedro Hernandez, who's an attorney at Legal Aid Society. We'll be talking about eviction and eviction representation if you have been evicted during COVID and because of COVID. So lots of really great information to come this week. Please tune in each day or watch afterwards. They stay on our Facebook and YouTube pages. So thank you all for being with us. Thanks to everyone who engaged with us in the comments, asked questions, said hello. And I will leave you with a thank you video.
Hello, SOC viewers. I'm Lynn from Plano. We would like to thank everyone for supporting our 3 o'clock with SOC live show and for completing our SOC survey. In addition to thanking our residents for tuning in and sharing our show, we would also like to thank the following sponsors:
Wisconsin Voices, Community Development Block Grants, Neo Philanthropy State Infrastructure Fund, Movement Voter Project, Catholic Campaign for Human Development, Zilber Foundation, City of Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention, the Tides Foundation, City of Milwaukee Promise Zones, and all the faithful individuals who support SOC through their personal donations. Thank you.